Hello, this is Gideon Emery, a.k.a. Balthier from Final Fantasy XII, telling you you're listening to the Raw Dogs podcast, which is part of the Greenlit Podcast Network. And from this leading man, may you be the leading man in your own lives. Tune in, enjoy, farewell.
Out of everything that I have on Final Fantasy VIII, I did not read all the storyboards in the back of that book because that would have been...
It's literally just the ending. There's not much to read.
I watched the scenes. I feel like I got it. I feel pretty good about it.
Hey, I watched the cutscene compilation.
There's a lot. Hi, everyone. This is Raw Dogs. Hello. Woo!
Welcome back.
Yes, we are here. My name is Brad. I'm one of your hosts here at Raw Dogs. I'm known as the studious, hairiest one.
I mean, take your shirt off. Let's really get down to business.
Let's have a big battle before we start this out in the rain where we give each other scars.
Yes, that's perfect.
Can there be oil?
Filthy, sweaty dudes.
Gross. They look like they fart a lot.
Smelly dudes. Smelly dudes. That turned into Sephiroth too easily. Dylan, what's up, man?
Yeah, that's me. I'm Dylan. I'm the least studious one. We were just describing me as shooting from the hip. Also, I think I'm pretty solid on this game, so I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue.
Do you want to show our other co-hosts what you got there on your arm?
Yeah.
Yes, dude. I have for the viewers at home, I've mentioned this several times before, I have the Griever from Final Fantasy VIII as a tattoo. I got it when I was 18 because I was in love with this game. Same age as Squall by the end of it. And I was like, this is like being an adult, dude.
You were, of course, a child soldier as well.
I dreamed of it. Do you know how many copies of Soldier of Fortune I've got at home?
You just stand at dances, not talking to anyone, just waiting for some girl to come up to you.
Well, he wasn't waiting for anything, man. Squall's his own man.
He didn't want anyone to come up to him.
Exactly.
Joke's on him.
I mean, he only sulked a little bit at that ball.
He didn't want to be there in that
he was
stuffy old
really,
uniform.
He was really good at holding the floor down and the pillar up.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Nice.
Yeah. Strength.
Very crucial. Very crucial.
That's how I'm going to describe it.
My name is Nick, guys. I am rejoining the cast. I think I've been out for like one or two.
You've been out for a little bit, yeah.
Great to be back. Can't wait to talk. I do feel bad that I'm probably going to be the backseat talker on this one because I haven't played this game in quite a bit. And I just had to do some refreshing stuff. I didn't have a ton of time, so I couldn't replay it. I got to play around a little bit with the junction system on what I downloaded, but I didn't get too far into it.
You would need a lot of time to replay
It's a steep curve.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yep. And joining the cast for the first time, welcome Ben, everybody.
How's it going? Glad to be here.
Ben, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a bass player primarily in a lot of different groups. I'm a band and orchestra teacher for MPS and a new dad. And on the very rare instances I have free time, kind of a Final Fantasy nerd. I've got kind of holes in my history of which games I played and which ones I haven't. But this was my first one. I've got vivid memories of sitting in front of my 13-inch TV, in a beanbag chair playing this for hours on end, running through a giant sound system with big floor speakers.
So the biggest sound setup and the tiniest screen.
Pretty much.
Sitting way too close.
Yeah, very close, and just like is just right there. It's just this was a formative thing for me. It was my first Final Fantasy game, and I know that it gets some hate, but I don't agree with it necessarily. I can see where some of it's coming from, but I don't agree with it.
So if you had to name your new child, after any Final Fantasy VIII character, which VIII character would you choose?
Well, I mean, my last name is Titus, so you would think I'd fast forward to Final Fantasy X and use that main character.
Wakatitis.
Or just Titus.
Kamari.
Yeah.
Come here, Dad, yeah?
Let's go ethnic.
Sid is a safe one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Biggs, Wedge.
Biggs, but Irvin's not horrible.
This is my child, Red 13, everybody.
It's like
Catchy.
forgive the hair. Yeah.
So we had as a kind of a base for the people to kind of understand you. Last year we actually did a best of Final Fantasy where we really got down to which ones were like top of the line.
I remember listening to some of that particular cast. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite Final Fantasy game?
I'd probably say 10.
Okay.
It's probably the one that I've played the most. I've played 8 a lot, but 10 was like the first time that I felt like the graphics caught up with the rest of the gaming system. Like I enjoyed the hell out of the story of 8. And that was a graphics jump for me from 7 because I got a PS1 like pretty much when 8 came out. So I got both 7 and 8 pretty much the same time, and I played 8 first. And then I tried to go back and do 7, and I couldn't. And I know that's sacrilege in the Final Fantasy community, but
it's fine.
I just couldn't do it. I've gone back and tried a few times, but yet I think 10 was the first one that just hit it for me. I've tried to play 9. A friend of mine gives me a lot of shit because I haven't actually done much with it. He actually loaned me the game. I'm blaming
We're talking about Old Man Tom?
Old Man Tom, yeah.
Okay.
I'm blaming the 25-year-old memory card that would not like create a game save anymore.
Oh, yeah.
So I couldn't actually play it. I still have his version.
So your console's been running for 10 years because you can't save?
Well, weirdly, if I fire up the PS2, I can load old games.
Yeah.
But even though the memory card says I have open space on it, I cannot create a new game save on it.
And rather than get a new memory card, we will not beat FF9.
I'm just going to download it on PS4 when I've got some time, which will probably be summer at this point.
Yeah,
I do strongly recommend playing through it because Vivi is the greatest character
Don't
ever.
play it on the Switch. It is a port of the iOS version.
Mm-hmm. And I was going to get it on iOS, but I think I did like a demo version of it, and I was just like, this is too clunky. I need a controller.
It's very clunky.
I need a controller for that.
Yeah.
Special thanks to our executive Patreon producers. We have Brian, Tyler, Kip, and Ryan.
We love you guys.
Don't want to get too far ahead without them. And of course, the day of recording is Squall's birthday. Big happy birthday to you, Squall.
Happy birthday, Squall.
So if he was 17 and 99, 14, he's about 31. He's probably about our age right now.
He is our age.
Yeah, my guy.
Unless with the time travel, he might have came back and everyone was like 10 years older than him.
41.
And they had to hold him back. 41. We're old. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, man, because I was definitely not 17.
No. I was 14 in 9 because this was 98. So yeah, 14.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, happy birthday to Squall, at least at the time of the
old
recording.
man.
Yes, we are talking about Final Fantasy VIII, a game that is polarizing in the community,
yes,
to say the least. I think it might be one of the harder ones to revisit because a lot like the Super Nintendo and Nintendo ones have their graphic aesthetic and they are of their time and they still look.
Yeah,
that pixel art's still great. And 7 has gotten remake, and 7 has had some remashes as well. But I think 7 and 8, the original PlayStation ones, are some of the harder ones to revisit because even with the remastered versions,
those polygons.
Yeah,
the new models look good, but like the backgrounds are hard to look at.
Yeah.
I downloaded Final Fantasy VIII. They did the remaster last year, year before,
about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
I think,
So I downloaded that, and it's weird to see Squall blink. It's real weird to see them blink now. Before I couldn't. There was just a blurry face.
They blink, but they also don't open their mouths when they're talking.
Exactly.
Yes.
So complete mind powers, but still blinking.
So let's all just briefly mention our personal, first time playing the game, our experience with it. Let's start with you, Nick.
I hated it. I did not understand it. It was a JRPG that did not vibe with me. I did not understand the fact that grinding made my life worse. I was pretty young when I played this game, too. I did not grasp the concept at all, and it really, really fucked me over. I did revisit the game when I later in life played through all of the Final Fantasies other than 1 and 2 sequentially, just because I wanted to go through them. After I did that, when I was a little bit older and I started to understand how systems worked and interacted with one another, fell in love with it, because any gaming system that allows me to use and abuse it like thoroughly, I enjoy so much, because it gives me the agency to do what I want, and I dig that.
The mastery of the system feels good.
It took a second, and when I was young and wasn't concepting that it was a game that you needed to apply strategy to, it wasn't just a game, it was a game that you needed to think about. That made it difficult and unpleasant.
Yeah, FF7 could be played with your eyes closed by many people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's called press the fight button.
Press the fight button and walk ahead and read stuff.
Yeah.
Fancy looking novel.
Yep.
Dylan, you have some pretty strong feelings about this game.
I really do. This game was very formative to me. I didn't play it till I was 16, so we're talking like 2006. I got the copy from a friend who became one of my best friends, and I related to Squall to an uncomfortable degree. And I just felt that everything kind of vibed for me. The whole aesthetic, it's not something you see in any video game anymore. Nobody ever tries to even tackle really even the subject matter that is seen in this game.
Which subject matter do you mean in particular? Child soldiers, time travel?
I mean, maybe it's
teacher romance?
Love.
well,
Pupu the alien? What?
Getting a little bit of snark from the host here. Just
well,
in the subtext.
I mean, I'm talking purely even by terms of like how they all conglomerate. So like the aesthetic, the essential, like there are some weird story beats in here, and it gets very existential and strange, and it doesn't always give you everything you want. And there's something about that really hit me, and I was like, okay, what does this mean? And then it actually got me thinking about it. It's the closest Final Fantasy to any literature that I can think of, if you're going to really put it that way.
Good point.
It actually is so open for interpretation that it becomes kind of its own thing. It's not going to hold your hand. It's not like Shinra bad or, got to stop the evil queen.
Well, Shinra bad, but there's also some Shinra good too.
Right. But with this, everything is presented to you like...
Then Adele shows up and just starts singing and...
Well, it's presented to you like a novel. There's like, here's the world you're living in. And as you go along, it's kind of telling you it a little.
It allows the world to breathe without holding your hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it feels real.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people give this game a bad rap because they're 17-year-olds. A lot of people want to attribute them as being adults and making wise decisions, but Quistis might abandon her post to go make an apology. She's a 18-year-old girl. Squall probably doesn't want to be the leader. He's a 17-year-old boy, and he's just falling in love for the first time. I don't know.
His natural response is, I don't want to deal with any of this.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, at 17, that's me.
He's watching he's watching a badass movie star fight a T-Rex, and he's like, that guy's a dork. I'm like, A, your dad's cool. Like, you're gonna realize eventually your dad was cool.
Your dad's the best Final Fantasy character. Period.
So you've played it many times.
I have played, honestly, not as much as you think. I am not a huge video game replayer. I am very much a person who takes on something, finds my enjoyment, and then kind of gets the fuck out for a while. I will replay things every once in a while. Like my most replayed game is probably Okami, because I played like several different versions of it.
Well, it's also just a beautiful game to play.
Right, and it's just that much fun. But this one, I will say there are annoying parts too. I will put that out there.
The song.
Eyes on Me?
Eyes on Me?
Yes. Just, I just every time
You looked at me, though you heart.
Well, yeah, when it comes in the vocals and they're in the ship and it's getting awkward, it's just like if
I fucking love that part.
I do, but at the same time, if anyone else is in the house, I have to turn the volume to almost nothing.
Well, and
Like I feel embarrassed.
well, and I'm with
I
you.
think that's embarrassing.
The scene was working for me. The song doesn't necessarily work for me.
Yes.
It's creepier when you realize it was Squall. That's like Renoa's mom is the one singing, and Squall's dad was trying to bang her mom. It's just like, can we listen to like bare naked ladies or something else? Like,
Anything other than
something really sweet about
our
that story.
parents.
I don't know. It's like I don't want to hear my dad singing a song when I'm trying to get with a lady.
But that's so. Even
Figaro. It's like, oh.
you also have to
contributing
remember
to the
that they don't even
families.
know.
Well, she would know that's her mom's song. She
Yeah,
knows,
but Squall wouldn't know that his dad is Laguna anyway.
but she would know it's her mom's song. I don't know, but that might mean more to her. That's fine. But
Was
then
it playing
she's
on the
just
radio
down
in the
to
radio?
bang.
I don't know if it's actually
No,
like
it's ambient. It's
Yeah.
definitely not on. You think the Ragnarok has a radio or something?
probably.
Yeah?
It's
got a PA
It's
system.
it's in outer space.
it could do a lot of stuff.
Infamously
got a
known
PA
for
system.
sound.
Well, also infamously known for oxygen.
Yeah, but they're out in like. There's that scene where you have to get Squall to Renoa.
The Space
like-
Odyssey sequence.
Yes,
One
but
of the
it's
many
still-
Space
Oh,
Odysseys.
But
Yeah.
it's still playing there too. I think it's more or less. I mean,
He's-
it obviously is a love theme, no
Yeah.
matter what you do with it. I think it's more orchestral. I think it's in the background. I don't think they were actually listening to
The
it.
vocals don't necessarily work for me. But Ben, how many times do
The
you say
vocals don't work for you.
It's I don't know, man. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. With Uematsu songs, Eyes on Me, I don't need the vocals necessarily for this. I like that it is in universe, though. That it is a character.
Who actually wrote the lyrics about Laguna?
I like it.
Yeah,
Like that's kind of fun.
yeah.
I wish Kairos and Ward had written a rap song about Laguna we could hear too, but they know them. They'd have stories, dude. It's like I want you to write a rap song about me.
Well, they're assistants to the president now. They can't be making rap songs.
I like when you realize.
Careful,
those
if they wear a
songs-
tan suit, they're going to be criticized for the rest of their life.
Yeah. You played this game a handful of times.
I would guess 8 to 10 probably.
Wow.
And the first one wasn't without a false start. I played it and I got to the Lunatic Pandora and I could not, the end of disc 3, and I could not get past it.
Really?
And this is the first time I'd ever done one of these games. I didn't know what exactly I was doing. And my stepbrother came home for a weekend or something, and I did not like this dude, but he played a lot of those games. Like I used to watch him play Chrono Trigger back in the day. Like that was kind of the formative stuff. And he took one look at my setup and he's like, you haven't been grinding nearly enough. So I had to go and start the game over. Just to be able to get past anything, because I hadn't leveled up anything.
He might have been lying to you. You could have probably
Yeah.
just found some triple triad cards, done
Yep.
some card modding.
Yep.
Well, I'll admit I never really got too into the cards.
And the cards is the key to destroying the system early on.
You
Yeah.
can
Well,
break it.
and I figured that out on the second play, but I was so not leveled up, and it was a point where I couldn't go and really grind anything because everything was like, if I remember correctly, like right as you're flying into the Lunatic Pandora, like the world gets closed off at that point. So you can't go and grind very much,
No,
if I
yeah.
remember correctly.
Yeah.
So I was stuck. Like there's no way around it. So I went out, I bought 2 strategy guides, I went back to the beginning. And
I love
did it
that you
right.
bought 2 of them.
I bought the official one and the unofficial one. And the unofficial one that I bought, I forget which one it is, but it had some information the official one didn't have that helped me like find where certain spells were and this and that and the other thing. Like the islands closest to heaven and hell, like it was very obvious in the unofficial, go here if you want to level the shit out of everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I beat it that first summer after going back and starting it again. And just every few years I've kind of gone back and, there's about a 10-year period where the PS2 wasn't hooked up, and then I hooked it back up, and I think I played it like twice. And I think the last time I played it all the way through was probably 2015 or so. And then I started it again last summer, just a little bit after I did the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Because I was like, yeah.
So obviously it'll be a decade before we're done with Final Fantasy VII Remake. But do you want Final Fantasy VIII to be the next one?
8 Remake's not going to happen.
It's not gonna.
I don't see it.
I don't.
I don't necessarily see it happening, but God, I'd love it to happen.
I would predict 10.3 happens before 8 Remake.
10.3 would happen before.
I hope 9 gets a shine up. Honestly, I think that would be an
9 is the
amazing
most-
world to walk around.
It's not going to happen either.
It's that game.
They're not going to take a risk unless it is a cash cow, and 7 is they can ride that cash cow for the next 20 years.
Yes.
I didn't think that it was happening. I was saying a dream.
Yeah, no, I would love that, and I would love if they remade 10.2 without dress spheres, because God, I just could not figure that out. I've tried to play 10.2 so many times, and I can't get past like the first 8 hours, and I'm just like, nope.
As long as I get past the opening pop song, I can start.
It is, yeah, that is awful. And then I've got a fiance and a kid at home. If she walks in while I'm trying to play this game with all the whale tail thongs sticking out of everywhere, like, I'm going to get a lot of judgment real quick.
Myself personally, I remember when this came out, my brother picked it up right away, and I know he played the shit out of this game. I was pretty young when this came out. I probably would have been,
You were 8.
I would have been like, no, it would have been like 10 or 11 when it came out.
God, am I the old one here?
I'm 33 right now, but
I'm
31.
37.
Yeah, but I didn't understand the junction system. I remember I played through like a good 2 or 3 discs, not fully understanding what I was doing before I'm not getting anything and I don't understand.
Yeah.
I was pissed off with the junction system at first, and then 8 hours later, I looked up and I'm like, oh, I got it, and I've been playing for like 8 hours, and it's dark outside.
Yeah, I think a lot of the story was a little beyond me, because this is very much a love story, and as an 11-year-old, I was not invested there, but I tried picking it up again.
14 or 15 is a good target age for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
If you're listening to Linkin Park, that's a good time to be
And that was me.
Yeah.
That was me.
There you go.
But I picked it up again maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and I tried to play through it. I wanted to playing Triple Triad for like 3 or 4 hours.
It is the most addicting game. It's
almost
as bad as Gwent.
It's got problems. It's got some problems. But most recently, I did finally finish the game on the Xbox One. I played the remastered version, and I mostly enjoyed the experience. I appreciated the story, and I can see what they were definitely aiming for. This game was released February 11th, 1999 in Japan. It grossed $151 million on the first day. This came out $99.99 in North America, the same release day as
It's like Skyrim, baby.
the same release day as the Dreamcast, and this sold more than the Dreamcast. Number one selling video game in the U.S. for 3 weeks, and critical reception, generally viewed as a leap forward graphic-wise, but many criticized some of the systems. Remastered was announced June 10th, 2019. And was released September 3rd. Final Fantasy VII was kind of a big deal for the entire planet. Mm-hmm. And this was the game that would be made after FF7. This began immediately after that was completed, and it ran.
It can never stand up to it.
Automatically hamstringed.
Yeah.
Automatically.
It's
There was a gun. There was a gun to its head.
There's a gun blade to its nuts the whole time.
Don't press R1.
And don't set it to auto.
And Zell's like, I'm going to get a face tattoo. Don't worry. We got this. we'll be fine. Someone get some hot dogs.
Oh, God.
Total development costs approximately $30 million with a staff of about 180 people. Some of the big names involved, we have the director Yoshinori Kitase, returns from 7 and 6, who also went on to do 9. Producer Shinji Hashimoto from 8, 9, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. Designer, this was something I was excited to read. He was involved. Hiroyuki Ito, who did Final Fantasy Tactics, the director of FF9 and FF12. 12 is my favorite. Mm-hmm. And when I found out he designed the junction system, there's just like a part of like the whole puzzle just clicked really hard. I'm like, I get it now.
It's a depth you normally see from these types of things.
If I was trying to tell you I understood how calculators work in tactics, I would be lying. There's a level of complexity in his systems, and he even said in one of the interviews I read, he's like, "What's the most complex thing I could get away with?"
Yeah.
Yep. That's what he was aiming for with this game.
Calculators are fun, though.
It's a thing that I really appreciate about a couple of other developers. I'm not going to talk about them right now because it's not the point. But I love it when developers build systems on systems and then just allow them to interact instead of just like, this is how you make your character. You can go up path 1, 2, or 3. This is what you get to do. It's so much more fun when they're like, build on this. You can do whatever you want. These are the modifiers. These are the gains that you can get. Do whatever.
With great power comes great responsibility.
This has been
and great obsession.
The big challenge.
Yes.
This has been the big challenge for every Final Fantasy game. Do you want your characters to be defined with a unique job class and style of play?
No.
Or do you want, you have FF9. You have FF9 where things are fairly locked in.
Kinda.
It starts off, you have the summoners. You have this person can do that.
Rolls.
Or you have something like they don't want the characters to really play differently. There are subtle differences in limit breaks, but it's how you junction GFs to characters, and they encourage you to switch everything between your characters too. You don't want to have everybody with like one GF. You want 3 characters with all the GFs.
Yeah.
And the way I always developed it was, basically I had my A team and my B team, and I would switch them back and forth and get them as close to equally developed as possible. Like you're never going to get everybody as compatible with Squall as like you can get with those characters, but you can get pretty damn close. And then there, obviously when you were looking at the different GFs and their compatibilities, like there's certain characters are more compatible with, so I ended up programming it that way. But it ended up making the game that much cooler just because you could have an A and a B squad, especially, there's system or parts where you have to split up anyway.
It forces you to think about it like a strategist. You need to actually assess the problem and what tools you have and what the problem is and then how to fix the problem.
It's like 3D chess on crack.
But, there's also, like, you can solve problems, though, with defined characters, too. Like, with FF10 early on, you need a certain character for long range, and that is an aspect of the puzzle as well. I don't think there's a right or a wrong, but I think this game gets a lot of undeserved shit for taking a lot of fun new approaches to gameplay, to combat. And everyone's like, well, 7 did this. Like, well, 6 did that, and 5 did this. Did you ever play 2? That one was fucking weird.
Yeah.
2's real bad.
2 is
this one reminds me of 2 in some ways. The leveling system.
The scaling.
Yeah.
Some other members of the team, we have artist Yusuke Naora, and, of course, homeboy Tetsuya Nomura was involved of the character designs here.
A masterclass.
And this was when he was still like in a room instead of just like flying around in the sky doing whatever the fuck he wanted. He was still having to have things reined in a little bit. I guess it was like his first design for Squall, really long hair, and everyone came in and was like, he looks way too effeminate. Like, reel it in a little bit. Like, we see where you're going.
He still looks very effeminate.
Can you imagine how much more effeminate he would have looked?
Well, without the scar, he's just like the prettiest boy in the world.
There are very few, if we're honest, there are very few Final Fantasy male characters that don't have that going.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's the general
Barrett
ideal.
and Steiner. Barrett and Steiner are the only ones.
Barrett is a beautiful man. How dare you?
He's just
how dare you, Bradley?
He just is like less effeminate, as well as Steiner. I don't know.
He does have pretty
the big
eyes.
butch boys, though. Maybe
you've got the dudes in 15 that they look doodly mostly, except for the prince. Yeah.
No, Noctis isn't that effeminate.
It's not too bad, but skinny guy. Yeah, he's.
Even like my favorite dude from 12, Balthier, he's pretty cute
I mean,
on the lady scale.
Yeah.
That's just anime pretty boys. That's a thing. It's a Japanese thing.
I know.
Anime pretty
I
boys.
get why it exists. That's not the problem.
I mean,
character design is
one of the core tenets of the story is it's a love story about 17-year-olds.
Yep.
I mean, at some point your audience has grown up a little bit, and maybe we're ready to have like a 35-year-old, like grizzled older character.
I don't know, dog.
Maybe a 50-year-old character.
I feel like that's where God of War comes in.
Well, no, but you don't need, it doesn't need to be all gamer fuel though either.
Well,
like,
yeah.
There's a lot of opportunity for richer characters. I know with 12 they were originally going to have Bosch be like the big main character. They're like, no, we need to have like a child boy with rosy cheeks. Can you make Vaughn? And they're like,
and I will say in 12, which is probably the least favorite one I've played. So
yeah,
Whoa.
But Bosch is, I think because maybe it just took me too damn long to play it.
Sure.
But I thought the story was just too thin. Like there just wasn't enough meat on the bone there. And I was just like, and then you just grind forever and then do the next thing and then go and grind some more. Like
You are talking to Brad.
I skated so much in my high school years.
But yeah, it's but yeah, I loved Bosch's character. Like I feel like that needed something more, and that would have given it maybe a little bit more like definitive direction.
It's just I don't know. Eventually, I don't want to be playing 17-year-olds in my RPGs, and it's refreshing to get a new take sometimes. But
I actually think that
damn
the
Persona
characters.
5, give me those teenagers all day.
No. I wasn't talking about Persona. I was talking about Shin Megami.
Yeah,
You just play a
they're all
demon.
teens.
And this even goes into that Nier game where it's like, well, in America we got the father, in Japan they got the brother.
Nope.
Recently played through the brother one. I prefer the father, just because I'm an old man. So.
That's because everyone calls you daddy.
Yeah.
Zaddy.
And one other
Zaddy.
key member of the team, we got Kazushige Nojima, the unsung hero of Final Fantasy. His name isn't touted as much as it should be. He is the writer for 7, 8, 10, 10-2, Crisis Core, Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2, Super Smash Brothers Brawl, Subspace
what?
Emissary, and 7 Remake. This guy does a lot of the scenario writing. And
Unsung hero.
yes.
Unsung hero.
This maybe has the best. This has the best dialogue of any Final Fantasy, and I'm going to point that out because I'm a comic book fan.
Now, is
general.
that because you get the internal dialogue of Squall?
It's all of it, but all of it feels very naturalistic and very straightforward.
Sure.
There is an actual voice to each of these characters, even like Selfie and stuff like that. You get an idea of who these characters are, no matter how shallow they are. I think that we judge a lot of the characters in 7 or 8 based on the fact that it's just like, well, there's no like real defining feature. I'm like, why? Because they're not a big black dude with a gun for an arm, or like a cat man, or like a cat.
Subtlety is nice.
Well,
There is some subtlety to it.
I see what you're saying. Their character designs aren't as bold, but I think what their
I'm talking about personality.
Well, I think that their stated goal was to tell a story about 2 characters, less ensemble cast, and that they were the rest of the characters used to prop up the main 2.
It's supposed to be a love story.
But you have stuff like in 7 where Barrett has whole like missions which are defining his backstory. You're learning about relationships, family members, and this doesn't happen with a lot of the supporting cast in this.
And how could they?
I mean,
they're all orphans.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, when you've got the orphanage story, and you've got the fact that they all come from the same place and they don't remember it right away, like it's a nice as you're going through the game, you're peeling the layers back.
Yeah,
at first it's like, where the hell are all these people coming from?
Yeah, and
then when it's revealed that the big bad guy is actually good lady who was taking care of all these, and it's a layer upon layer thing that, at least for me, as I was playing through it, I was like, yeah, I mean, this is like, I read a lot of like Forgotten Realms books and stuff like that when I was a kid, and I was like, this is playing out like a lot of those, like a lot of my favorite book, like you were saying earlier, literature, and it's playing out so much like just literature that way.
Final Fantasy is always supposed to be a kind of adaptation of D&D into that. That stage.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely get that where it's very individualistic adventure right up until it is world breaking, because that's how all of those games go.
I think something that really hurts this game too was the initial complexity of the systems scared many people away. And then they have an impression of Squall being introverted, kind of dickish, because they didn't see his character growth, which he does go through like a whole arc and opens up and learns how to start caring for people, but they never saw that. They saw the dickhead who's like, whatever, I don't want to dance. Leave me alone.
As a dickhead,
go
I
talk to a
identified.
wall.
So I was like, yes, that's me right there
Why
with
don't
a
you talk
gunblade.
more? Go talk to a wall if you want to talk to someone. Like, oh my god!
Well, and it's and
Zell's
there-
hot dog drops out of his mouth.
but then you like, even with the world building and everything, then you start to see the real complexity of what this game was trying to achieve. Did it achieve it in every single way? No. But I think this actually tried to tell a more almost more subtle,
Nuanced
story. Yeah, that's a perfect word for it. I like I was saying earlier, like just in the way these characters speak to one another. I recall the scene in which Squall, even though he doesn't really like Safer, he says, like, when they find out that he might have died at the hands of the sorceress, he has a bit of an existential crisis and he breaks down and he's like, and he's thinking to himself, like, if I died tomorrow, is this how everyone in the room would fucking talk about me?
And he has a moment where he's like,
it gives me chills to this day because it's just like, no, this is how they would talk about
and
me.
he's really upset. He's like, I don't want people to use the past tense about me.
Yes.
Yeah.
He like specifically speaks on the past tense, and time is a real important aspect of the story. It plays into all of what Ultimisia is up to later, trying to bring time all together. I do appreciate that the story gets so big in scope and they don't explain it. Because it's at that point when there's even the characters going on in the background, what they're talking about, and Squall's sitting there like, I need to take care of Renoa. I need to do something about this now for her. He's blocked out all of important story elements, and he's like, this is what matters. Much like we don't know what's fucking going on this planet. It's like, well, just take care of your cats, you know?
If she's gonna be the sorceress, I'm gonna be her knight. He actually gives himself a very straightforward goal. It's what we do every day in our normal lives. It's just like, there's so much shit going on in the planet, but sometimes you have to learn how to quantify it, bring it back in, like make it
block out
something
the noise.
tangible.
What can you do?
So,
who do you love and who do you care about?
So the Netflix little blog about this story would say, an introverted student whose instructor is in love with him is spellbound by a young woman he meets at a ball who is the ex-girlfriend of his rival.
Well, and it wasn't even X really at the time. It's complicated.
Or
setup.
child soldiers must protect the time realm of our planet to save society or something. I don't know. You could go.
You could make it
Pupu
even
the
more
alien.
ridiculous than it is.
Pupu the alien wants elixirs.
So let me describe it. Let me describe it better. Over millennia, children have been not abducted, but enrolled through paramilitary means.
Well, this is only the past like 17 years.
No, but they've been doing this multiple generations.
The
garden system is much older than that, though.
No, the garden system was started. No, the garden system was started by Adia and Sid.
Yeah,
because Squall came back.
Balam Garden.
Only Balam.
No,
all
the
three
gardens.
of them.
All the gardens were started when Squall went back, and Sid and Adia got them rolling. The gardens were actually old cities created by the Centra.
Okay, that's what it is.
Yep, and those cities were mobile and turned into gardens.
So
if anything we're saying wrong, folks, please write in. But
please do.
From all the stuff that I've read, I tried to make sure.
I believe it. And
that
honestly,
makes sense from the gameplay.
Well, so the idea is that they're kind of, you know, in like traditional Final Fantasies, how these characters are kind of either like ragtag pulled together, like warriors of light. They each have their own like standard character tropes or whatever. This is much more straightforward. They put it through a processing plant. They said, we're going to create the heroes who defeat the sorceress, and this is how we're doing it. And there's something like both sadistic and weird about it, but also kind of calling it noble sucks. But
I don't want to talk about the time loop quite yet.
We're not going to.
But there is a time loop that we have to discuss because
Yeah.
The
Well, it's
reason,
causality.
the reason everything happens is a closed loop, and it is peculiar. But it was Nomura's idea to include a love story and sorceresses. His idea to include the Garden Academies. And Adia was actually designed for FF7. Fujin and Raijin were designed to be Turks, actually, which I thought was interesting.
They do kind of look like they should be.
Originally, this game, Kazushige Nojima planned to have the two playable parties to have almost the exact same amount of screen time, with Laguna being the first half of the game and Squall being the second half of the game.
It was a smart choice to make him smaller.
Yeah.
And having him be a smaller story supports Squall. I mean, the main point of, I think, Laguna is to be in contrast to Squall, someone who instantly cares and is charisma and is a fun battle theme.
And to be an aspirational model for Squall.
Also
that helps kickstart his growth from complete and utter introvert into someone that actually gives a shit about people.
Because at first, Squall thinks of Laguna as a huge Dorcas, like a real, just like, what the fuck is up with
legitimate
this guy?
too.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
but he's also
he goes to the bar with his friends, and they're like, "Go hit on this piano chick." He's like, "I don't know,
his leg cramps up, and he's just
the
like,
whole leg cramp thing. Oh my god,
I fucking love that part. And
it's too real.
Like, if there's one Final Fantasy character it's probably Laguna. Like, he's not smooth. Like, it's pretty much, he's like very straightforward, kind of just says what he means.
I was Squall until 22, and then Laguna since.
Yeah. And and I think him realizing that, even like, he sees Laguna essentially become like the president of Essler.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of like, well, there's something to taking care of the people around you, giving a shit, learning how to get through the hard times. Yeah, I fucking love Laguna. Yeah. When I did the illustration for the Final Fantasy episode, I made myself Laguna because we were all our favorite characters. He's my favorite character. I've got a little statue of him at home. I love Laguna.
Nice.
He's a good boy.
Yes, he is. The man with the machine gun.
They decided for this game to give their characters realistic proportions. So instead of the little paper mache characters from 7, little blocky things, they have real proportions.
Melted Lego men.
And I think that's the reason why one of the reasons why I couldn't go back to 7, and 9 kind of was weird, because I was like, the first game I played, they looked like people, at least on a 13-inch screen, they looked like people.
Well, and even in 5 and 6 and back to 1, they look kind of like people. The sprites have peopleness, and then you go to 7 and they don't look like people.
Yeah. No. They were working with the polygons they had, and they had to make it work.
Nine's artistic direction actually serves it better for that. So
it's one of those things that makes it age.
The painted background
ages very well. Like Wind Waker, everyone's like, it looks terrible. Well, that game is fucking holding up great right now.
Yeah, it's doing really well.
Anything sell.
And one aspect of realistic proportions, to keep their faces from looking like garbage, the camera would often remain closer, which means they had to create more maps and have the camera move around a little bit more on these maps, because the further you get away from Squall, the less he looks like a person. And he doesn't look too... He doesn't have a lot of peopleness.
Yeah, there's not a lot of peopleness to him in general.
He has no butt.
No butt. So you were saying that this is, like, you think one of the best translated games.
Yes. There were problems.
The English translation, they were given the game to translate. They were not given the text files. They were never given a script printed out. They had to pull the dialogue, pull all of the words out of the game with a Game Shark. To do this translation, they did it with a Game Shark, which is kind of interesting. Wow. I know. It is boggling that that's how it happened, but something that became Squall's catchphrase, whatever.
I can also identify with that one.
Well, that became his catchphrase, and that is not something that is in the Japanese game at all. Just some numbers here. He says the phrase 15 times over the course of the game. We remember it way more because he says it at like big moments, but
whatever. Most of it's like in the first disc.
Yeah,
he says it often. Squall's Japanese response is different almost every time, and it's more akin to my bad. Some of it's like, well, excuse me, like with a sarcastic tone.
So he's Seinfeld, is what we're saying, or Mary-Kate or Ashley Olsen.
I was doing the Link in the Phantom Hourglass.
Yep.
You got it, dude. Well,
Excuse me.
Princess. FMV sequences for this game. Over an hour of cutscenes.
It's and they fucking still look damn
Yes,
good.
they do.
Yeah, they really do.
I was very surprised at how often they cut into cutscenes. Because, like,
And they melded.
yes.
Yes, and they do such a good job of
Like
it,
when
too.
Selfie, when you're going on that first mission, and then Selfie like comes up over to the rocks, and then it just turns into a little Selfie introduction sequence. I'm like, yeah, she does look dumb, but looks great at the same time, FMV wise.
She's
But
lovely. I like Selfie.
she's
She's
got
like
that-
the little, like the ditzy little sister.
she's got that. There's something about Mary hair that's just unnatural, you know.
It was the 90s. What are you going to do?
At least she
look
wasn't
at-
using a jump rope, and she had those sweet nunchaku. They call them shinobu in Europe because they're not allowed to have ninja weapons over there, I guess.
That's,
What?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
That's just the funnest fact.
yeah.
All right.
Shinobu.
I learned a lot. On that note, we're going to take a quick break to hear from some of the other amazing shows from the Greenlit Podcast Network. We're going to grab some more beers, maybe see if there's any GFs that need to be drawn from the toilet. And we will be right back.
Pandemona.
Diablos.
I was gonna say Diablo.
The Doom Train?
Demi.
Shit.
How does Bloodborne stack up against, say, Oregon Trail? And is Bomberman just Lode Runner from a different point of view? Find out on Hardcore Gaming 101's Top Games, where we objectively, definitively, and scientifically rank the games you nominate for our ever-growing list. HG 101's Top Games, twice a week, every week, right here on Greenlit.
Hunter x Hunter, Yu Yu Hakusho, literary analysis, comparative localization, JoJo references. The works of Yoshihiro Togashi hold a specific kind of magic, and the people who seek to examine their roots and spiritual descendants are known as the Spirit Hunters, available on the Greenlit Podcast Network.
F-Boy Island, not horrible.
Oh, all right.
Cactar Island. I'd watch that show.
I'm
That
just,
would be a good show.
I'm gonna gun for. I'm gonna go
Seven
with Peter.
people on Cactar Island.
Well, I hope I don't get needles in my dick.
There's nothing
I
scarier
love
than a Tonberry slowly walking towards
Yeah.
you. They should make a PG-rated horror film about Tonberries coming after children or something.
I mean, the knives themselves.
That was the first thing, like in 10, that always like would get me. Like the first time you find a Tonberry in 10 and you're not leveled up enough, she's like, this thing is gonna completely fuck me up.
You know, I liked 10. I didn't play it all the way through until last year.
I love
And
10.
I've got so many like good opinions about the first half of that game, and so many bad opinions about the second half. And I can actually.
What fucking sucks is that some of the stuff and
Is that Kamari wasn't a romance option.
ha,
We're
what
only friends.
what
Give me
really
that sandpaper tongue, you big cat fuck.
what really sucks about 10 is that, like, in 8, I feel like there's like a lot of the like side quest stuff is attainable even if it's a bit difficult. But like some of the side quest stuff in 10 where like
Dodging
to
the
get
lightning.
to get Lulu's ultimate weapon, you have to dodge the lightning 200 times. Like, fuck that. I'm not doing that.
That's not okay.
Like, even getting
doesn't respect
Titus's
me.
or however you pronounce his name.
The Chocobo.
Yes, that last Chocobo race, it's dumb luck.
Get 0 seconds on a Chocobo race.
Yeah.
So fuck you.
It's-
I'm going to
it-
do this for 2 hours and get it, but fuck you about it.
Yeah, the last time and the thing with that is, and the thing that I think makes 8 a bit cooler is that the fact that I feel like in 8 the bosses level a lot more with you.
Yeah.
So like I've done the ultimate weapon a few times in 10 because I've replayed that, not as much as 8, but I've replayed it a lot. And you get to the end and it's just like, all right, 3 hits and you're done. Like, if you're fully leveled up in 10 and you got the ultimate weapons, like, you just breeze through.
They don't even get to the second verse of that shitty rock song.
Exactly.
It's over?
Yeah, it's done. Versus in 8, like, even if you're leveled up, like, it's gonna take some work.
Let's talk about some of the systems here. So let's start with experience and leveling.
Yes.
Experience points awarded following the defeat of randomly encountered enemies. That's standard. Every level acquires 1,000 experience points to level up, and stat increases are minuscule. Major stat growth is relegated to the junction system.
Yep. As it should be.
And so leveling up doesn't really have benefits.
Except in your seed paycheck. Because and I think maybe this is
Salary.
because you can go through, if you've got the strategy guides, either one, you can go in and just level yourself up. And then that way, when you get to those certain points in the game where you can buy the higher end weapons, which helps with your stats a bit.
Well, you can't buy the weapons. You can buy magazines that tell you how to make the weapons.
Yes, sorry.
Yes.
And having that much money early in the game does really help with the flexibility.
So I think it's every 20 minutes in game. You get your salary.
And it can go down.
It can go down. You can get leveled up if you do the certain missions you have well. If you don't talk, you don't lollygag. You get a higher ranking, but besides that, you can just go into the tutorials or go to your computer and take tests.
Yep.
And they quiz you on the game. So strategy guides make it very easy.
Yep.
A, B, A,
left,
C,
left,
C,
right,
B,
right, left, right, left, right, right, left. Boom, raise.
But yes, enemies are not dropping any money at all, which makes sense. Why would an iguanodon or fucking tortoise?
Well, I think
a jellyfish on the beach.
It drops a little bit, but it's not consequential.
Because, I mean, that jellyfish was carrying its like life savings on the beach.
Yeah.
It's going to the jellyfish store.
This was for my children.
So, yeah, bosses and enemies have no set level, which it's like you were saying, that makes the strategy of boss battles consistent. And, well, in a sense, it makes it consistent. But the way that they want you to work on your stat growth is through junctioning. And that system, the only question I had about it playing this time is how much do I want to break the game? Because very early on, I'm like, okay, I triple tried the fuck out of this. I have all these level 5, level 6 cards.
Yep.
They can be put down into this. So I have most of Quizis's blue magic that I want early on.
Yep.
I can get all of the spells that I need to have certain stats jacked to shit.
Yep.
And
all you need is the missile spell, let's be honest.
well, and the question becomes, how much do I want to break this game before I quit enjoying it? And I don't know. It becomes a preference thing.
For me, the shortcut to enjoying it or breaking it but still enjoying it was when I got the Ragnarok and I could do the islands closest to heaven and island closest to hell. Because you could set your encounter none setting, and you can just go draw all of the heavy duty, big fucking spells.
Yeah. I like that.
And max your stuff out, and then turn your enc none off, walk 3 steps, hit all the hardest things in the game, and level your characters up at the same time.
Just make sure you save, because
save frequently, yes.
Even at max stats, some enemies
Marlboro
is infamous for being able to fuck you up no matter what.
Yep. Yep.
And I love the thought of Quistis using her blue magic, her bad breath on everybody. It's like, have a breath mint, lady. Jeez.
She's
just like vomits.
I do love that though.
Yeah.
But in my replays, that was like the way to like as soon as I got that, I could go do that. I could level up to a certain level and then go and do some of the other stuff. And it would be a challenge because you'd still have some, like, I wouldn't sit and grind there until I was at level 99 for everybody.
Yeah.
But it would give you,
You're still experiencing the challenge.
yes.
You still have to think about the game rather than just bye-bye.
Yeah, I think like the second or third time I played it, I went and I spent like a month on those 2 damn islands and just maxed everything.
Jeez.
And then after that, it was just like, I just spent all that time and like the rest of the game was like, it felt like 20 minutes.
I'm just trying to make sure Angelo, my little dog here, doesn't knock the
So
power cord out.
Oh no.
So this ends up being something where I think a lot of people bounce off this game, and I think it really depends on what type of gamer you are. I don't think this game was made for the people who are completionists. And I think that they tried to make this game something where people could play it multiple times to discover new things, especially if you weren't going in with a guide or really how to figure it out. I think that the developers had it in mind that I think they made it more for people like me. And I think maybe Brad will agree on this. I think, Brad, you kind of go for not like the max of everything. You're not a complete completionist, but I think you really go for like you go towards you're more goal oriented when it comes to video games, whereas I'm more like experientially oriented. Would you agree with that?
It depends on the game, but
I suppose.
Yes, I don't know. I'm more goal oriented, and I like checking off boxes and getting everything.
Yeah.
So
There's a limit.
Ubisoft games.
Yeah, clearly. But
yeah, me too.
This system didn't do a lot for me. Let's talk about, just drawing magic. You don't start off with magic. You have to either draw it from enemies or draw points.
Yep.
And
that's a direct like D&D Forgotten Realms thing. Like, just in any of those books, like, you read about the mages, like, well, I did all these spells in this battle. Now I have to go read these books and redo it all again. So like for me as a complete nerd who read all those books, I was like, all right, that makes sense to me.
Well, okay, but then when you get magic, you wind up taking said magic and junctioning it to your stats. So now you're going to get penalized if you use that magic because your stats are going to drop. I was encouraged to never use magic, and if I could avoid it, I never used magic.
Admittedly, that was one of my biggest complaints about the game, was the fact that it went so far away from the fantasy side of it to the point where I agree with you. You're penalized for using your magic unless you're we'll talk about Renoa later.
And
but
people say like, "Oh, I didn't have to grind for leveling up, but I did have to sit with a caterpillar, withdraw 100 fires, make it into a Fyra, and then get enough Fyras to turn into Faragas."
Yep.
And that's
where the islands closest to heaven and hell came in handy because you didn't have to
just
do that.
I don't think they want you to even try to do that, though. That's not the point of the game. You're supposed to follow at a pace, and
it's supposed to be an adventure.
Okay, so yeah, but at the same time, I do believe that they failed in encouraging that to happen, and maybe that is the flaw of some of the major plot points in what actually goes on to encourage you to keep moving and to stay curious. But I just don't understand when people are just like, but I gotta get all this shit before I move on to the next thing. I'm like,
as a kid, if I can keep withdrawing fires and it makes me stronger, why would I not sit there and draw all the fires till I hit 99?
But at some point, it's supposed to, like, allowing you that freedom is, to me, what a beautiful video game is. It's just like, are you tired of doing this? Well, don't do it anymore. Maybe you make your own artificial difficulty. Even the game's not that difficult.
I just want to say this is probably the strangest overall system setup for building characters. No armor. You're no accessories.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You're not equipping any of that stuff. Your weapons, you can upgrade, like, there's only like 4 different weapons besides the ones you start with for each character.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And some of them have subtle differences. I think Zell unlocks more combo moves in his limit break. Mm-hmm. But mostly
Squall is just more powerful.
You just get like a little bit of a stat boost. But those are very few and far between. And mostly it's all built into the GF system, the junctioning.
The Guardian Forces. I fucking love Guardian Forces, man.
And again, because it's my first game, I'm in the same boat. If it wasn't my first game, I might not care as much, but God, I love it.
With the
Yeah, and on the old like PS1 wired controller,
Yes.
you could
Happy
go,
games.
you could just slide across the X.
That's
like
what I
this.
did. Yes.
And yeah, it's like having a turbo controller, but not paying the $50 or whatever it was.
Well, it was smooth enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does not work on a PS2 controller. I'll tell you.
I mean, I like watching some summon animations as much as anyone, but
I will admit, on like the last few times I've played it through, I have cut the animations down.
Also, there's the fast forward function in the
but you
the
don't
remaster.
you don't want to fast forward though if you're going to get fewer boosts in. On
The boost doesn't mean
it makes a difference.
It does, but it doesn't mean that much. And there's a point where you can just say,
on
fuck
like
it.
I'm spacing now. Is Eden the most?
Eden's the longest one.
And that's the
Eden is
biggest
a
one,
long
the most powerful one.
And it is.
And yeah, that one, the boost does matter. If you get to 255, that thing is gonna.
And I watched it today, and you have time to get to 10,000.
Oh yeah,
It's beautiful.
It's
though.
long.
Yeah.
It is a stunning animation. And the GFs, okay, so they're your summons, they're your armors, they're your abilities, they're your straight up your battle menu.
Mm-hmm.
You have attack, and then you can choose: do you want magic, draw, item, GF, even other things. You can have mug instead of attack.
Yep.
There's card.
Which
Transforms enemies into cards.
it's like catching a Pokemon.
Yes, which is very up.
And then you take that Pokemon, chop it up into little items, and then you make it into magic, and then you junction it to your GFs.
And
Then
you
there's-
get
It's
It's
stronger.
the circle of life.
Then there's like Mug from Diablo. I love Mug.
Well,
Mug is good.
Mug is
Yes.
less. I mean, it's good, but you actually get worse item drops from enemies afterwards. There's a point. I know, and that was pissing me off. I'm like, why am I not getting better drops when I was trying to get my best weapons? Because if you have Mug on, enemies are not going to be dropping things.
Yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the ass.
It's a trade off.
Yeah.
But you summon your GFs too, and the more affinity you have with them, the faster they'll show up.
Yes. It is nice when they're like lightning quick. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, and you can also use items to up your affinities. Limit breaks function a little less consistently here.
Yes.
What, you don't like
I don't
slots?
like the random aspect of that because
Yeah.
with Squall, you can get Renzakuken or you can get the
Renzakuken rules.
whatever the weakest version of it is, and you never know. And supposedly using Aura like helps you with the consistency of like getting the higher end stuff, but it doesn't necessarily. So it's
And also,
I
I
hate
mean,
that part.
with 7 specifically, you saw the limit gauge. You knew it was going up, but this you don't. You have
It's very random.
a low chance of appearing when a character is around 25% of their HP, with greater odds the lower the HP. Aura status can increase this. This can be manipulated, though, to having limit breaks almost at free will. You'll see speedrunners just use limit breaks pretty much the entire game.
I know.
And,
that's where I think that this game really is not made for
The
I don't think it's made for hard-
optimized play style.
Yes, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
I
one
think-
it was never meant to be replayed or analyzed as sharply as it has been, because now people play the game and it's the same as Final Fantasy VII.
I
where
don't
you
think
can do
I don't like the materia system. I'll put that out there. I
can-
really don't.
do like 8
Yeah.
or
In
16
Remake, I thought it was
summons
fine.
in a row with the materia system in Final Fantasy VII. You like
that's a
all-
system that's very broken as
Oh
well.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
And the summons mean less in 7.
Yeah,
Yeah.
With
I mean,
this
they're just
one,
big damage.
Shiva meant a lot to me when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Guys,
Shiva
check this out.
and,
Don't tell your moms.
Oh, that's why you figured out how to see that animation
Oh,
16
and
times.
the golden GF with water. What was her name?
Siren.
Yeah.
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 They
I mean, that didn't really do it for me. But
Shiva was more, but
no, they made an effort to
Yes.
have less human-like characters because they wanted the GFs to be beasts or like other spirits. That's why. I mean, that's why Rama instead is Quetzalcoatl this game.
Good.
But with Siren, they're like, we'll make an exception here.
and that seems to be a consistent exception.
let me cast silence on the room. Ifrit and Shiva, I think that was literally just like kind of like throwing people a bone. But the
Yeah.
rest of the Guardian forces are definitely not normal.
Well, acquiring Guardian Forces is a strange thing as well. So, Ifrit is one of your first missions of the game. You get Ifrit. You download Quetzalcoatl and Shiva from your computer. You just go into tutorial screen like, here you go. And it's like, did I just summon demons off the internet? Yeah.
By the way, you
That's
can
foreshadowing.
actually do that.
That's foreshadowing.
You
but
would-
back in
did I
'99.
You wouldn't download a spirit, would you? Yeah.
Get her done.
But so, I mean, and then some GFs, you go to a specific location like Odin or the brothers, and you have to find them somewhere certain. Other ones, you'll be in a random boss battle, and if you're not checking to draw from every boss,
Draw from everything.
you might miss something,
Exactly.
which is a lesson that I guess, I mean,
a lot of people
God.
don't
And
for
then
guides.
Diablo comes in a magic lamp that's not really well explained. So if you
Squall.
forget that's in your damn
Squall, you're going to go on this
Inventory.
mission. Here's a magic lamp with a demon inside.
Then
of
you
it.
immediately fight the demon in the magic lamp.
And it's like, why did
It's
you?
not a hard boss battle.
Why the fuck did you just give me a lamp with Diablos inside of
Yeah.
it, Sid? I don't know. I'm a bad headmaster.
He's a really
you're
good
a
one to have
commander
anyway.
now. Step
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
You gave me the literal devil to fight.
that one quarter damage right away.
Yep.
Awesome.
You can defeat a lot of like higher level enemies pretty quick. Yeah.
We talked about seed rank. Enemies don't drop money. You get more pay per salary. Guardian forces. We talked. GFs have HP and can take damage. They can be knocked out before the summon happens if they hate you.
Sucks.
Because it's
I
a
like
waste
that.
of time. It's a waste
I
of like
do-
all that
yes.
time.
I like that too.
I like that.
I like that it takes time to summon them. I like
Because
that
then you can
yeah.
use them as shields too.
It's a risk reward.
Yes, and so yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Like if your character who's summoning them is, really low, it's a great shield. But at the same time, if you're in a really hard battle and you just start getting GFs knocked out left and right, like you can't restore them within the battle sequence.
Well, especially like facing like Bahamut and stuff.
Yeah.
Another very important aspect of Guardian forces. I wonder if we didn't say Guardian forces enough. People think we're talking about like the girlfriends of the game. Like Odin's my girlfriend.
Oh my goodness! Like
I like Odin in this game. By
Cypher
the way.
killed my GF,
Yeah,
so now I'm dating Gilgamesh. But abilities are how you acquire abilities through your GFs because AP goes to whatever GFs you have equipped. Junctions to
Ability points.
ability points, as they say.
Yep.
Unless
And it's from
Undertale would be
and it's
something
from
else.
everything as little to boost to card mod to just everything. Like
Straight, you can get HP plus 60%. You can
Exactly.
You can get some game breaking, fun,
Yeah.
really cool abilities
Right away.
And counter half, some
And it-
strength
and it-
junction.
That's where this
counter half
game
and counter none.
succeeds.
Yes.
Period. Like the amount of time I just spent scrolling through menus and having fun, I have never experienced another game where I felt so comfortable just being like, what if I fucked with this?
12.
Oh, what if I went with that? Yeah, well, if you play the Zodiac Age, they take away all that shit.
I've never played Zodiac Age and I don't want to. I'm so bummed they changed it. But no, I'm like, I granted I never did any of the junctioning of stats or weapons. I went auto because I don't want to deal with that. I'm collecting so much like magic all the time. So if I was trying to do each one
Sure.
individually, that sounds daunting and not fun. So I auto.
so
the
much
coolest,
fun.
Well, the coolest, yeah, because you can. That is the way you can really customize your characters. Like if you got a Squall with a gunblade, you junction aura to his health, like he's immediately 9,999,
Yeah.
like right away,
You
even if
junc-
he's like level 35.
you junction death or poison to his weapon, and then
and
he's
is a fucking,
Early on,
yeah,
Berserk is
Yeah.
You can
exactly.
You can junction death to armor and just be immune to.
but there is no armor.
Or what?
defense.
Vitality.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You can literally just not die.
Yeah.
You can just say no to
Freaking
death.
great. Yeah.
There are death spells in the game, just like any other Final Fantasy.
There are also a number of non-junctionable GFs, which is kind of fun.
I love them.
Once you get Odin, he might just show up. And heaven forbid, if you were trying to find that one rare enemy to get an item, Odin's like, shame
bet-
if I showed up, huh?
You better save right before.
Yeah.
Save early, save often, so you can go back and retry that shit.
Yeah,
This
because
is a game based off of if you're doing completionist runs, save. Clearly.
A lot.
Yep.
and then there's also
I always had 4 blocks dedicated to this game. So that if I hit a certain point, I can be like, all right, well, here's where I would want to come back to if this happens, and let's do this.
It's almost
let's do this.
metatextual. Time travel.
We were
Damn,
we were
that's heavy, dude.
sorceresses the whole time.
You just wrinkled my brain.
We're all Ultimacia, baby.
You can acquire the Phoenix Pinion from the Shumi Village, which allows you to summon Phoenix, which is a one-time use item. That's a pretty powerful item.
Yeah,
But you
and
can also get
That's
it
the one
through-
that appears randomly there afterwards, correct? Once you've used it once?
I think that's Odin.
No, I think Phoenix can appear randomly as well.
Yeah.
It can appear
Occasionally
randomly.
you can be phoenixed out even if you don't cast it.
Okay, that's cool.
Once you've done it once.
And other non-junctionable GFs would be Boko, Moomba, and Minimog might show up.
Moomba! Moombas.
Moombas are pretty cute, and then it's sad they didn't get reused.
Moombas deserved a little bit better.
Moombas were poorly explained. Shumis can evolve into Moombas who become workers who
Yes.
can tell who you are by tasting your blood.
It's
Moombas are kind of dark.
It was the 90s.
It was
Yeah.
the 90s. All the cats had jobs.
Listen, it was the Clinton years.
You can also refine abilities, refine through cards, and refine items. You can move all of them into different things depending on what you want to do. Let's talk about the triple motherfucking triad.
Woot woot.
Which I'll admit I don't know much about.
I own the
just-
real
I never
cards.
got into the freaking. I never got into the side games really.
amazing.
In any of the games. Like Final Fantasy X, I didn't give a shit about Blitzball.
I loved Blitzball.
And like
Blitzball
in the
sucks.
game,
It does.
or in 8, I didn't necessarily care about the card. Like I tried to care. I really tried.
You
and-
can't be.
I prefer 9.
In Final Fantasy games, you cannot be anti-side games.
I don't think I'm anti. It never grabbed me. Like that's the one part of this
But they
game that
help
just
so much.
never grabbed. Well, and I think that's like I picked up enough cards like because of the strategy guys. Like I knew who to go beat where and when
Oh,
to
okay.
get the certain cards to mod them into something
Sure.
else. So like I didn't end up having to play the game.
Right.
But every time I've gone back, I've tried to play it, and I just don't care. I don't know why.
Hey,
to the games, as a positive, you don't have to. You don't have to play more triple triad. It never becomes important to the plot or necessary to play. But
There are some
Man, you can
benefits.
break
There are
the game.
massive benefits
man,
to it.
you can ruin the whole system.
I mean, hell yeah.
you can burn it down.
that's
Yeah.
you can burn the system down before you ever leave.
The initial,
After Ifrit,
yeah.
it's pretty much game over there if you want.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Well, that's when you can get your ultimate too, right?
Yeah.
That's the beginning of when you can get your ultimate for Squall.
Yep. Designed by Battle System Planner Takeyoshi Nakazoto. At the time, Magic the Gathering was very popular.
which I also played a lot of back in the day. I'm a complete dweeb.
They wanted a side quest that was accessible almost whenever you wanted it to be. They didn't want it to be like the Gold Saucer, or most of it was locked behind a certain area at a
Oh,
certain
you mean
point.
awful mini games that suck?
I don't think all of them were terrible, but most of them weren't great. Chocobo Racing I thought was fine.
It was not.
It was fine.
We talked about this on our previous episode. Please listen to Final Fantasy VII.
But,
We did 5 fucking hours of recording.
Triple
I like
Tri-
watching chickens race.
Triple Triad is, I think, strongest in its base game. It gets ruined once you start getting other regions and other rules that make less and less sense.
Yep.
Once you get to same plus and plus wall, and
I don't like
you
any
don't
of that.
even know what a lot of this means.
No,
Thank God.
I'm bowing out of this part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Bless your heart. I mean, I wish I could be a sweet summer child and happy again.
It definitely goes into that loop of infuriating frustration and then like elation.
Well, and then at some point, did Zell's mom really just draw a picture of himself on a card and give him like all 9s and A's? Because what
Yes.
is the standard for how you get a card made? Like, who's the 17-year-old from another continent that you have on your card here? Oh, that's Selfie. It's
Well,
like
she's really cool.
it's just
Everyone kind of agrees, and everyone in the entire of Balam really likes Selfie.
No, it's Quistis. She had the Treepies gang. She has her own like
the
club
Treepies.
of people that just like. What do you think of that teacher? Yeah,
I
she's
will just
fucking
say, just quick pause. It is
That's-
funny because I've had the pronunciations of these names in my head for so long. It's funny to hear certain things just different. Like I thought it was Keistis for the longest
Okay,
time.
we're gonna go around. We're gonna go around the room here and
Okay.
Quistis.
Keistis.
Quistis.
Keistis.
Wow, okay. Split 50-50.
Cypher?
Definitely Cypher.
It's safer. It's SEI.
Yeah, I love you.
Man, Cypher, I think that
I'm pretty sure it's Cypher.
It's safer.
It's safer.
Say. Say.
I
It
don't
is
know.
a literal, it's the katakana. It's say.
To me,
Fur.
he is a cipher to understanding the story, though, like a CIPHER.
Ooh, a cipher.
I don't think you can understand everything in this game based off of Americanized
Especially
Western
because
concepts.
they translated it off of a game.
Well,
chart.
just like, have you ever seen The Matrix? Neo is the one. Have you tried moving the letters around before? Idea,
Idea, yeah.
It's Idea.
Ultimecia.
Ultimacia. Not Ultimacia. Ultimacia, yeah.
Pupu.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Poopy.
And we're back from the name pronunciation game, everybody.
Now, actually, we're on Dylan's waifu corner. We're all going to go around the table and we're going to say our main girl.
Quistis.
Yours is Quistis.
Easy.
Easy.
Selfie. I mean, fuck, marry, kill. I'd kill Selfie twice. I'd marry and fuck Quistis.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry,
it's
Renault.
not even an option.
Renault, you didn't make the list.
Mine is actually Eleni. Okay.
Your sister?
I'm not Squall.
I was Squall. I was Squall the whole
I
time.
related to Squall. I'm not a complete like fucking pervert.
Oh, so, okay.
It's just a fantasy, all
God,
right?
if we're doing F,
A
Mary,
final
Kill, Jesus.
fantasy.
We don't do F, Mary, Kill. Just who's your favorite girl?
I do like Keistis a lot.
I think I'm just going to default to Renoa because she's the one I remember the most.
Yeah.
I liked her.
She's like,
she came across a little too
She
bossy
was the
for
one
me,
that
but
like, you know.
Nice shade of blue she wears.
yes.
okay.
With those, the black hot pants. Yeah.
So the triple triad. Mechanics, you're playing in a 3x3 square. Cards have 4 numbers, 1 for each side. So special rules. There are open, where opponents can see the card you're using. Okay, there's a lot of rules that are stupid. I'm not going to go into all of them, especially since Dylan went to the bathroom and he's the only other one who's really played this recently. I meant he's going to the Tomb of the Unknown King. The biggest issue with the triple triad, though, is when you're introduced to other regions and other regions have other rules. And the way rules can spread between regions is fucking stupid. You're not going to be familiar with this, Ben and Nick. It's probably been a while since you played.
It's been a really long time.
But let's say you go over to Dalit. They have a rule called random, where you don't get to choose which cards you use in the game. It
love it.
randomly selects 5 cards.
I'm in.
No, it's bad. It's very bad. And so if you have this rule and you learn it, you could take it to another region, and then random will spread around the planet. And it's tough to get rid of a rule once it spreads.
Ooh.
Getting through the rules of Triple Triad ruined the latter part of the game for me, of the Triple Triad experience anyways, because I was trying to collect every card and having to deal with the extra rules. Random is really bad, but there's something called same wall where the card is placed touching 2 or more and the sides match up. You win those cards, and then edges of those board also count as a combo rule applies. It's all stupid.
It gets deeper and deeper and messier and messier.
And it's really not good.
Triple Triad. Do you have anything to say about it, Dylan?
You know what? Every single time I do it, I only get into it so far as to just kind of enjoy it. I don't like breaking games for the most part. I like finding out that I can, or surprising myself that I found the ability to break a certain aspect of the game and then kind of rolling with that. Like, oh, this gives me a lot of attack power, especially when it comes to the junctioning system. But with Triple Triad, man, I tried. And there are so many missable things in this era of Final Fantasy and even earlier Final Fantasies where at some point, you're just going to stress yourself out. And it's not fun anymore.
Yes.
It's not cool. It's not cool. I don't like missable things in video games. I really don't.
You know what the most egregious thing Final Fantasy games can do, and 9 and I think 12 does this in one of the later iterations. You have to beat the game twice to get a certain item.
I hate it.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever
Some
heard.
Ghosts and Goblins ass shit.
No, that it genuinely is just like an unkind game design, because I do believe that you should design your game to be completed in a playthrough.
Well, I think 15 is very similar to, I mean, just my experience with that. Like, I played through it, I beat it, and then I went back and spent another 45 hours figuring out all of the dungeon beneath blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the 100-layer dungeon.
Yeah, it's just, especially like one of them where you spend an hour just like walking in circles downstairs.
So
isn't that fun?
Yeah,
it's
I
just
do.
like, fuck me, dude.
I can acknowledge that some people enjoy this style of gameplay, but please take it out of my JRPGs or just RPGs in general, because like nobody would do this. This isn't like, I know that it's supposed to simulate the mega dungeons of D&D, but nobody wants to play those games anymore.
No.
Well, like the first time I played 15, like I beat it, and then I think 6 months later I went back and I did all the dungeons or whatever.
Oh.
And then like when I replayed it after that, like I beat the entire game in 24 or 25 hours because I was like, I'm not doing any of that bullshit again.
Yeah. I'm
I'm just gonna play it for the storyline and roll with it.
Yeah. So we're going to be drawing near to part 1 of this episode. We're not going to get into any big, more meaty topics that'll get us too excited that make us go too long. But we're going to just read some fan responses. We asked some people to send in their thoughts.
Matt Sapersky, I hope I pronounced that right, says this. Honestly, I love the game for its focus on progressing the story over excessive level grinding. Since the enemies level with you, the game feels challenging, but fair, and allows you to move the story without feeling like you need to spend an hour or two leveling up. Plus Triple Triad and Keystis. Who doesn't like Keystis? But I don't like the draw spell mechanic. It made some basic fights boring, like 10 minutes of drawing Cure from a caterpillar boring. Oh, now I know where that reference came from earlier.
Thanks, man.
Just so you make 30 Curas, just so you can do it again until you had enough to make 100 Curaga. Which, again, the answer is islands closest to heaven and hell.
Yeah, but he's talking about these cactars early in the game, the caterpillars. You're talking about end game content.
You're not supposed
I'm talking
to
about
focus on that.
I'm talking about mid to end of disc 3. Mm-hmm. Like play the story and then go do your shit.
Well, and the game
Like-
is designed to be experienced at the level that you're playing. Just play the story. Just like it genuinely is meant to not be a grindy experience.
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
supposed to just jump
Unless you
in.
do what I did, which was like turbo through absolutely everything and not level up enough, and then you fuck yourself by the end of disc 3.
Remastered is nice because you can just put on 3 times speed and just draw. It was draw Binks, they were calling me by the end of it.
I fucking hate you.
Dude, someone mute his mic, sir. Someone mute his mic.
I'm in charge of
You're
the
my head.
Look, Dylan, you want to read
That
another
can't be
one?
edited out. All right, we've got a response from Shaquise Weathers, and I never got to play the original game, so I bought the remaster. And one of the many things I love about this game is the character models and cutscenes come to life in stunning, vivid detail. I agree. Mm-hmm. I love how you can get rid of random encounters and explore the world at your leisure.
Yes.
Another thing that is very important because, as we know, if you level up too much, it's going to break the game for you. It's very important. He also says, I never had any issue with the junction system, as you can hit auto and just call it a day. My main beef lies with the draw system. If you want to max out your character's stats, then you'll have to spend a good portion of battle sucking up magic from enemies. Having to do this for every character is one of the most annoying grinds I've experienced in an RPG. And there is a way I agree with that. Mm-hmm. For me, personally, I found the draw mechanic to be extremely interesting because it's all about the amount of time you're willing to put into it.
Yeah.
You can grind in any other game. What's the difference between drawing and just killing monsters? Mechanically, there's not a lot of difference there. I think that people get more reward out of seeing the like ba 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 over and over again because they feel that sense of accomplishment. But I feel like the draw system is achieving the same thing. That's just me personally. I do like Shakisa's responses, though. They were very good.
All right. From Jamie Stone, one of my best friend's little brothers back in the day. Jamie, it was so good to hear from you. He writes...
Little Jamie.
Jamie, he writes, I love the Triple Triad card game. I easily have spent more time trying to win cards than I did actually buffing out my characters. Being the first Final Fantasy game I played, I actually liked the junction system. I think it's probably overly powerful, much like the sphere grid system in FF10.
Yes.
You can refine your cards and items and get your characters way too strong, way too early. I always hated dealing with the Jumbo Cactuar. He was always a pain to track down and such a pain to beat once you find it. Yet, I still have plans to get him tattooed on me, so it must be a love-hate thing.
Honestly, that's a great tattoo.
Yep.
I say fucking go for it.
Oh, big time.
Well,
big
and
time.
I agree with that parallel between the sphere grid and FF10. Like yes, early on in the game you start off with each character specializing, but like for me, like, and perhaps this is just a nerdier part of me, I enjoyed like being able to just like max out characters to just be like freaking gods.
Yeah.
And you
I
could
like
within that system. It was freaking great. You had to spend an inordinate amount of time on it to do it. But you could make you can make your spellcaster a freaking warrior for the most, unless it was Yuna. Like her weapons are never strong enough to do anything. But for the most part, like you can make Kamari like the same black magic crazy wielder as Lulu. And Lulu you can make just as powerful as Yuna. Like it was cool to be able to start within their prescribed areas and then be able to venture out from there. Yeah. And I do feel like that's a cool kind of build out from what was established in 8 with the junction system.
Narratively, too, I see a lot of through lines from 8 and 10. Just the love story, obviously.
Big time.
A lot of the storytelling to me, honestly, kind of resonated between the two of them. It didn't feel like a sequel or anything like that, but I did see a lot of echoes.
There's a lot of parallels for sure.
All right, we'll have one more listener response here.
From Allison Smith.
Ooh.
I have a lot of sentimental feelings towards Final Fantasy VIII. It was one of the first Final Fantasy games that I bought for myself. My sister and cousin and I played the game together. We would take turns fighting enemies. I used to do that with my brothers too, so I love that.
My brother would trick me to fighting all of the enemies and grinding for him.
That I think is part of what I actually had happen to me.
Great work. Great work, Brian. Great work.
When we were playing together, we would write letters with tips and how far we had progressed. It took me at least 2 playthroughs to understand how to properly use the junction system. Me too. Eventually, I would just farm pain and aura from enemies and never had to worry about what level I was when my stats were maxed out. Yep. Break that game. I love it.
I love this next point. Holy moly, I never thought about it before. And
I still
accurate.
think... this is fantastic. Yeah. I still think that Headmaster Sid looks like Robin Williams. Me too. Fantastic observation.
Yes.
You're in charge now, Squall. Go over here. Here's some Diablo stuff. What is going on?
And now
I love his racist
will
Asian accent.
never unhear that in my brain. Whenever I would read the dialogue in my head, it was always in his voice. Yeah.
Oh my god, that is.
I love it.
I never thought of it. That's so perfect. Oh my god.
Yeah, he really does.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good point.
Yeah.
Like complete Dead Poets Society, like outfit, everything.
Oh yeah,
Boom.
the haircut too.
Done.
And-
Oh my god, it's perfect.
I guess we'll just read one more little piece of fan feedback from Tom Wegner. It was a piece of shit.
Tom, I love you, dude, but fuck off, man.
Eloquent as always, Tom. This has been part 1. Part 2, we're going to talk a lot about the lore, some of the theories, the time travel aspects, what we like, what we don't like. Muppet Babies are going to come up at some point.
Muppet Babies.
Cypher took my ball.
I want to be a taxi cab driver.
Can I have hot dog? And yes, we're going to be right back with part 2. If you're a member of our Patreon, you will get access to it right away. Otherwise, part 2 will come somewhere down the line If you wanted to support us on Patreon, you sure can. For the $3 tier, you get access to many episode part 2s from the Raw Dogs, as well as our exclusive show, Doggies After Dark, where we just get drunk. Sometimes Dylan tells ghost stories. We mostly talk about what we've been playing, though.
Generally, we get silly.
I still haven't fucking listened to that one. I don't
Dude,
want
no, Dylan, it is the best Doggies After Dark we've ever done.
Is it embarrassing?
No, dude, it is the funniest thing that we've ever done as a team.
Whatever, it's great.
But if you want to check us out, you can go to Patreon. We're Hair the Dogcast on there. If you want to find us on Facebook or Instagram, we're Hair the Dogcast. And if you want to tweet at us, we are at Hot Dogcast. Me personally, I'm Loaf of White Brad.
I'm Nick. I'm just Nick. Really, if you really want to get in touch with me, I guess my email
just reach to the Hair of the Dogcast.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I am Demons Draw Dylan on Instagram. All one word. If you want to see my artwork, I don't have personal social media really other than that. So,
Ben, if people wanted to find you, how could they do that?
On Twitter, Instagram, and the Faceballs, I'm at Ben Titus Music.
Faceballs.
Yeah.
Titus.
Titus, yes.
Not Titus, like Homeboy and later host.
Which I still pronounce Titus because that's just my name.
Yeah.
And on the good old interwebs at www.bentitusmusic.com.
My last name is Ward, so I'm like, there's a character named Ward, and he's a big dude who fights with an anchor and a tank top.
That's pretty cool.
I was like, why couldn't I have be Laguna?
You want to know the difference between you? You want to know the difference between you and Ward?
About 100 pounds.
Well, one's
muscle. Yeah.
Hey.
And we're happy you're not.
Dylan.
Wow, that was biting.
Now you're muted. All right, we've been Raw Dogs. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back for part 2 shortly. So, yeah. Draw some magic and junction your GFs, baby. Yeah, we will see everybody next time. Bye-bye.